That's what I was. Hooray! So I was drumming along there. Bienvenue, welcome once again to another IPSA Kind of Magic. Now, IPSA is the Association of Independent Personal Search Agents. They're the people who work very closely with solicitors up and down the country to ensure that one of the most fundamental parts of the buying process of any property is working out what contingencies there are, and you do that by doing searches. Now, there are lots of ways of doing searches. And IPSA are a group of people, all of which who are steeped in attention to detail, working often, having been gamekeepers, now turned poachers, who are there to work with all different organizations, including councils and so on, to make sure that you get the very best searches. But Hamish would argue that you should go to people like that because they have local knowledge and local wisdom. I'm going to take the contrary view, and I think maybe we should just go to one company who would do it all. That way, you tell them to do it, and they do it, and you don't have to worry about a thing. You can just get on with your life. What do you say to that, Hamish?
Well, one of the great things in life, and we can argue this, even Donald Trump said this, we should have freedom of speech, and we're entitled to hold our own opinions, and we shouldn't have to go to prison because ours differ. So no worries. You can actually stay a free man, Gareth.
Thank you. My wife would disagree, but you can have me as a free man.
Well, I mean, what I'm trying to sort of suggest, and I would like to ask the question, is what is it that actually sort of serves home buyers best? And I'm suggesting, is it either more legislation, which would go down the sort of argument that sort of Gareth is just sort of speaking about, which would say, right, let's grab all of this stuff, stick it under one roof, and basically you go there for everything. Or is it better to have local researchers? Well, here's a fine way of looking at it. What's happened to your high street? High street?
It's mostly placards and blocked up shops, I believe.
Interestingly enough, what there used to be, there would normally be several supermarkets, but these days there's not necessarily several of those. But however, the big companies, those big corporate sort of expanses, they can afford to go in the high street. Where have all those independent traders gone that used to be able to sort of walk into? They say, good morning, Mr. Wax. Good morning, Mrs. Wax. What can we help you with today? Oh, yes. Well, actually, this is the best way to do this. If you do it this, instead of which, you can't actually even, you've got to go up to some machine to sort of try and book yourself out. I mean, I can't sort of cope with that. So basically, what we end up in the world with, we probably even have a world government, if truth be known, if we actually wanted to sign everything over. The world leaders like sort of Putin and Trump and whoever the Chinese one happens to be, let them lead us. Why should we have a say in the matter?
So what you're saying is we've ended up with devolving decision making away from us to machines or to people who don't really have any real knowledge of our area.
Well, the intriguing thing is we have a government sort of trying to suggest that we want it decided sort of several decades ago that we'd sort of devolve decisions, and we give decision making to each of the separate sort of countries in the United Kingdom, and each of them have whatever's been handed over, they messed it up themselves in a totally different way instead of them all messing it up together. However, devolution can actually sort of work up to a point, and I think there's a good point in that. But what local government is trying to do is to actually almost sort of cancel that out, because what we're doing, you just sort of take one aspect. We were speaking of IPSA, but they became about because that Association of Independent Personal Search Agents came about because people would go and personally get that information from the local councils.
Right.
Now, in many councils, let's assume we've got a county council that has 5 councils in it, 5 local councils. And let's assume that they have a population of 50,000 in each of those. Mathematically speaking, we have a population in that county, small county, there's 250,000 people living in that county. Now, what the government are trying to suggest, no, we don't want to have individual councils. Now, bear in mind, we have individual councils who are incapable of looking after the personal needs of those people who actually reside in those council areas at the moment. But what the government want to do is take away those 5 and stick them into one. Now, you could stick them all in one office, I guess, in one part of the county, or you could have independent offices. But the whole object of doing it, of course, from their particular perspective and everybody else's, is we can cut down all the people. Now, at the moment, we've got 5 land charges officers who know about their locality. Now, when you dump all of those local land charge officers all into sort of one sort of heap in one particular sort of central point with one particular sort of boss, you say, well, actually, we don't need all 5 of you now, do we? Can we get away with 2? Can we get away with 1? Now, those 5 local officers knew about their locality. Now, from one end of Oxfordshire to another, it could be as far as 60 miles. Now, what does a land charges officer know in that particular? What does the one furthest? What do they know about the locality? Because perhaps they've never lived there. They don't know anything about it. They don't know the methodology. They don't know how the records were kept because theirs are kept totally differently. So you lose that individual knowledge of it. With an IPSA member actually going out, I mean, just make a comparison with that. What you've got, you can get away with those 5 officers if you wanted to, replace it with 1 officer. But because IPSA members all work and operated within the council areas, they know how each of those individual councils have worked. They know about the records. They know about their own locality. They're part of the community. They've been living there for a long time, in many cases, working there a long time, and probably that 1 land charges officer that's left, or the 2, they've probably worked the council areas longer than that council, longer than that land charges officer. What about the other staff? They're losing their staff. And what we're actually sort of saying is, well, hey, hang on, we can get all this, we can get all of our data. All you got to do is sit at your desk and grab your data. Well, yeah, that's fine. However, the way the data is handled in one of these particular sort of council is different to the way from the other. So what we're actually speaking about is differences, differentiating between what is going on. We want to remove all the differences, make everything absolutely the same, everybody absolutely the same. And of course, if we're all the same, we'd all be dead by now because the dinosaurs. Well, no, we weren't walking the planet whilst dinosaurs did. We wouldn't have been able to because they'd have eaten us. But you get some of the drift.
But it's amazing actually that there seems to be there's a divergence here. There's some people who want to obviate everything to an unnamed, unknown mass who are going to hopefully do their bidding, but just they just hands off and let them get on with it. And the other half, I don't know if it's an equal half, are very keen on making sure that they have people on the ground who understand that local area. And it is my understanding that IPSA members, non-competing as they are, will make sure that the right IPSA member for doing the right search is available to you. I think that's groundbreaking, isn't it, Hamish?
Well, strangely, it's not exactly ground because that's what happened previously. I mean, what we have this big battle going on between the local councils and search providers like ourselves, the independent researchers, the independent. They did call us search agents. They still use the term search agents. It's not the case. In fact, there are some governmental sort of. They still call us personal. So we're not. We're actually regulated because the work that we do, it's regulated. We have a regulatory body, so we do adhere to the terms and the conditions. Exactly that. Then something we do, which councils don't do, we actually we have insurance against errors having been made. Strangely enough, we produce insurance against us making errors, and we also pay for insurance to cover us in case the council's made errors.
Right.
Now, this is a bit ludicrous. Now, look at this. I'll just put this in perspective as well. Now, I went to one particular council. I needed a particular piece of information. They said, well, tell you what, starting price is 150 notes, £150 for it. But do please read the conditions. And the conditions stated quite categorically that we have no responsibility whatsoever.
Yes, you told me this the other day. I was dumbfounded.
And you think, well, that starts at £150, but we're not accepting responsibility for it. And in a way, there's an element of daftness. So you've got these contrary type things, but that's not really what we're speaking about. We're speaking about the complete removal of anybody local. And the other aspect is local search agents, if we want to call them search agents. They're normally trained. They have to be trained. Certainly our staff, we'd never actually let them out in the field with less than 6 months experience on there. They wouldn't go out on their own because there's too much involved with it. They can learn so much within the office. They can learn so much from research. Then they can actually sort of go out and make sort of decisions on their own. We still actually have quality checks on these. However, what actually happens with the desktop researcher, they basically are sat at their desk and they accept data, they accept information, they basically just reproduce that data, put it back in a different sort of format, or it's done electronically even. They perhaps even don't have to do it, and out it goes. So you have a solicitor, and the solicitor doesn't even need to be local. Let's be honest about this. We could have a solicitor up in Liverpool carrying out work for somebody based in Oxford. Why? Because, well, it's perhaps cheaper up in Liverpool. So somebody thinks, well, we could get it done cheaper. We'll get some. Now, if they're working in Liverpool, they've got a centralised sort of search provider.
Right.
They've got absolutely no knowledge of what the heck's going on in Oxford city centre. They don't know of the absolute sort of mess that's caused by the traffic arrangements now, because they've all got these great ideas, haven't they? But I don't know what's going on in Liverpool, nor do I want to know, to be quite honest. I've got a daughter who would sort of challenge me on that particular sort of one, but never mind. As far as I'm concerned, I don't need to know, because I know people who work and have done the research work in Liverpool. I know who they've done research work in Newcastle. I knew people who've been doing the work on the south coast and in Wales. Now, this is what the government is trying to do. They're trying to take away that possibility because they're listening to people who are data providers. And what they're suggesting, all you need to do is scrape data and just regurgitate it. You can actually either regurgitate or refine it. I prefer to refine it. We don't just regurgitate it. We refine that particular sort of data. So do we need more legislation from the government to push people down this one single funnel to take away local knowledge, local expertise, local professionalism? Not only are they actually trying to do it with the type of work that we do, they're trying to do it with solicitors as well. They're trying to take the professional property lawyers out of the equation. They just want this tick box type mentality. Everything's the same. And because the absurdity about it is some people want to buy a flat. Some people want to buy a four bedroom detached property.
Yes.
There's a difference between the two.
Well, it's market difference. Yes.
The 4-bedroom property, they perhaps have children, it's schools, it's the infrastructure. What's going on there? What is there locally that can actually sort of happen there? Compared to the person that's buying the flat, they might be just a single person, it might just be a couple. They might be even downside. So there's all sorts of different aspects. So this is why the property lawyer is important. This is why a local search person actually sort of is important. They've taken land charges away. Land charges are now being central office. We want land registry to look after those. And do land registry look after everything really effectively? Are they world-class providers of data? A number of people would argue about that. They're good, They're good. There's some tremendous respect, and we do a lot of good work with them. Don't get me wrong. However, they don't get everything right all the time, and a million or so, a backlog of a million or so queries is probably a few too many, because there's not enough people to handle that, because you can't handle everything by way of the internet.
Right. Wow. It seems to me that a lot of people are plighting their troth with the internet and doing as hands-off approach as they can be. And what we're saying today, I guess, if in summary, is we're not yet at the point where you can rely on everything that's online, or you can rely on people who are a long distance away from where the issue actually is. You need local knowledge. You need people who've often had many years relationship with the land registry, often worked within the land registry. We've got a number of members, don't we, Hamish, who have been both sides of the line.
You know, of course, one of the great things, and of course, we've got a tremendous sort of way of sort of handling these, because we've got our, if you like, we've got our sort of central board, and our one of our sort of chief sort of officers, like Heather, for example, she will coordinate, collaborate. Many sort of queries and everything that's sort of coming will actually come through Heather. I think the companies call them chief executives, the officers, but she's our chief executive, and she knows that. So she will collate everything that sort of comes through. And if any queries come through that any members actually sort of have, we have sufficient people who can actually answer those. We've also got a consultant to the board who actually has been work. She started work with land charges officers in the last century. I just thought it was fun. That means not what that long ago is. It's only 25 years ago.
Well, yes, but so much has happened as far as that's concerned. You've had the attempted, I'm calling it attempted, computerization. You've had the conglomeration of various different councils under one umbrella. You've got shifting faces within land charges offices and land registry offices. You've got changes throughout. So having people who have been through it all, often what's the lady's name you're referring to?
Oh, we were actually speaking about Jackie Dyson.
Jackie, yes. What a top lady she is. Now, Jackie is no longer an active member, but she is a consultant. She's really, really got a wealth of knowledge on how all of this has changed. I mean, she was telling us hair-raising stories about how they had a demarcation line across the middle of the office where search agents were not allowed to cross. And things have changed, thank goodness, now. But she's been through all of that, and I'm just gonna summarize. I'm going to toss it back to you, Hamish, just to take us home. But she used to tell us these stories to show that she's been through it and has developed this deep understanding, often with the same people in positions there for tens of years.
I think, but I mean, what we're actually sort of trying to say there, whilst we do have a central government, the central government has responsibility. Central government members, particularly if they've got a new government coming in who haven't had held any sort of senior positions, they haven't got a clue what's going on locally. They don't know what a land charge is. They don't know what local authority search is. Yet they're quite willing to actually sort of take on board what somebody's saying. Oh, hang on, we make loads of money out of just throwing this data at you. We are the ones you should be listening to, not the people that have to refine the data, like locals, like solicitors, property lawyers who know what they're doing, and like local people who can actually carry out the. So really, this is what we're saying. Yes, by all means, centralize some aspects. By all means, use data effectively when you can. However, people buy properties for good reasons, and they will vary. They will be different. Each council operates differently. Each locality is different. Each community is different. And so if you've got people involved from that particular background, they don't hold anything up. In fact, they will speed up what's going on, because you won't get anything like as many queries either.
Well,
So,
it only remains for me to say thank you so much, Hamish. Hamish is the person who helped us create this channel in the first place for IPSA members, and also for people who are interested in what IPSA does and how they can work with IPSA. If you're interested in learning more about IPSA, and there's some great photos of the latest at AGM, I think, there as well, go to the link I put below, ipsa-online.org.uk, or contact myself or Hamish to find out still more. Next week, we'll be having actual further other members online with us. But until then, I wish you all wonderful peace and a happy and prosperous week. Keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars. Please try and look after that mental health. Goodbye.